Hello and welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast, pregame edition, live from Gila River Resorts and Casinos at Wild Horse Pass. I'm Johnny Venerable. We got the playmaker, Brittan, Golden, Craig Morgan today. PHNX Cardinals beat reporter Bo Brack live from Minneapolis. In just a couple of minutes, the Arizona Cardinals hope to win their first game against the Vikings on the road since November 1977. This pregame show brought to you by our friends Sanderson Ford, crushing it with their Glendale location, and of course our friends here at Wild Horse Pass. If you're not here, get here in the area, the greater Phoenix area, your premier sportsbook and casino here in the great state of Arizona. Jonathan Gannon and company, Craig, looking for a bounce-back outing after last week's tough loss at Seattle. What do they need to do to get it done today?
Number one thing for me today is you have to get pressure on Sam Darnold. You have to get to the quarterback today, bother him, force him into mistakes. Don't give him time to find this unbelievable receiving core, because if you do, they're going to feast on you. You have to make sure that Jefferson, Madison are not killing you today.
And how do you do that, Brittan Golden?
I mean, it's going to start up front. Craig said it, pressure is everything. Right? You got D-Rob back in the lineup. I think we were talking off air. Luquetta's got a sack in 3 straight games. Like, these guys have to – Zaven Collins is going to have to step up, right? These guys are going to have to get pressure on Sam Darnold, force him into situations where he's got to force throws, because if not, if you give him time, like you said, between Addison and Justin Jefferson, it's not going to look good today.
Vikings have weapons, but so do the Cardinals. You alluded to it. We led the show with it. Darius Robinson, let's check it out, the inactives today. He's not one of them. For the first time in the better part of 4 to 6 weeks, Darius Robinson is off the inactive list, and he's officially active for his NFL debut. We haven't seen him, gentlemen, since the first quarter of preseason game number 1. Was poised to make a big impact this year. Better late than ever. He's going to start today, and I'm going to just say this right now, Craig. Cardinals are one of the healthiest teams in the NFL. They have Jonah Williams back 2nd week in a row. Darius Robinson makes his debut. You look at that injury report, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of guys that are a healthy scratch. That bodes well for Arizona.
Yeah, that is exactly how you want the script to play out this late in the season when, as Jonathan Gannon said, it's playoff time now. These are all playoff games, 1 week at a time still, but they're in playoff mode. The margin of error, as he noted, is very slim this time of year. So you want to have all of your personnel ready to go to make an impact.
Yeah, I feel good about the state of this defense, and we're going to talk about it. But, Britt, you think about this offense that was so lackluster a week ago, making the switch, Jonah Williams in for Kelvin Beachum, the offensive line, maybe their worst performance in the JG era. What do they need to do to get back on track today?
I think just going in and watching that film Monday, I know that there was probably some words said.
Yes.
There was probably some people called out, and which needed to be, right? The offensive line played very bad last week. So I'm expecting this week a different fire in them. I'm expecting the run game to try to get established early. And if you can do that and, force these guys into man covers, and you can get your playmakers working. Yeah,
that sounds like one of our keys to the game. Let's jump into it. It's the PHNX Cardinals Bird Gang Blitz, and talking about that offense. Gentlemen, we did an impromptu live show yesterday to celebrate the cashing in for James Conner. James Conner now re-ups with the Arizona Cardinals, a new 2-year, $19 million deal, Craig Morgan, and it comes at a very apropos time. James Conner, uncharacteristically ineffective last week against Seattle, even with Minnesota's vaunted run defense. You got to think that changes today.
Well, Britt just talked about the offensive line getting a call out, and that's got to be part of it, right? That's where it starts. That's where this Cardinals offense starts. You have to establish the run with James Conner if you're going to set up play action in the passing game. I also expect a response from James Conner. And I'm not saying that he was fully at fault for having 8 yards rushing, which was his lowest total since his rookie season when he was a bit player. But I do expect a response from him. Hey, maybe it'll even be a celebration with his 2-year extension in pocket, because James Conner, for the most part this season, has been the bull that makes this offense run.
Yeah.
No, I mean I agree. Like when he has solid games, when he's carrying the ball 5-6 yards a carry, right? It opens up. That's when you see McBride's going for big. That's when you see Marv having big games, right? The guys on the outside get that action when James Conner is having success, in the trenches, and it starts with that offensive line, right? We said it already. Like I feel like they've got to come out with a different type of fire, something that says, hey, right, we can't put 2 weeks in a row of what we put out last week.
Absolutely. I mean, this play action pass has to return. There has to be a threat of a run. And the offensive line, gentlemen, has to set the tempo. I remember last week we were here at Gila, Brittan, and the Cardinals gave up 2 sacks on the opening drive, and that was very much a precursor, the tea leaves for the rest of that game. And I'm like, this is not a Cardinal offensive line that I know, that I'm familiar with. Usually they're shoving people the opposite way. They're running through people. And to your point, the expletives that were said behind the scenes, I'm sure, watching that film Sunday night, Monday morning, I mean, I expect a better performance from Yelda Froldholt and Paris Johnson Jr. and Evan Brown, and James Conner's going to feed off of that. So this offense, to me, it's a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde this year. Jonathan Gannon said pregame, like, they're going to get Marv involved. I just think this Vikings defense, I think they feasted on a lot of AFC South bottom dwellers. They played a bunch of bad teams as of late, and Craig, I alluded to this on Friday's show. I think this defense is susceptible to big explosives, but the Cardinals have to protect to get there.
Yeah, that's the key right there, because when you look at what this defense is doing well, aside from leading the league in rushing defense and yards per game, they're producing pressure. They've got 3 guys among the sack leaders. And we're talking about Jonathan Greenard and Andrew Van Ginkel, both tied for, I think, 6 in the NFL with 9 sacks. Blake Cashman's another guy who maybe hasn't had the season, but he's another talented player. So they can bring the pressure. The other thing that Gannon pointed out about this defense, Brian Flores' defense, really, you've seen this over the course of his career, they disguise looks so well. Yeah. Gannon thinks they do it as well as any team in the league. They'll show like 7-8 men at the line of scrimmage, and they'll drop back. They're actually not coming with that kind of pressure that often this season. They're coming with 4, but they're so confusing to offense with what they do. So you have to be able to make those adjustments, make those reads on the fly, obviously.
Absolutely. You talk about pressure. Speaking of pressure, Arizona Cardinals looking to bring some today with the return of Darius Robinson to hopefully have Sam Bradford seeing ghosts. Remember this vintage graphic? Once upon a time, he was a member of the New York Jets. Cardinals need to ghost Sam Darnold today in the best possible way. And it's not just Darius Robinson. Baron Browning, who will play his, 3rd game with the Cardinals. Let's see him get in the sack column, right? Dante Stills, Zaven Collins, Jesse Luketa has 3 straight sacks in 3 games. So, Brittan Golden, let's focus on D-Rob for a second. Number 56, we know he's going to be on somewhat of a snap count today. How can he still impact the game in his debut?
A lot of it, he's going to be inside a lot, right? A lot of it is him just getting pressure in the backfield. He doesn't have to necessarily have the sacks, but be in the run game, causing havoc in the middle, right? Pushing that center back, pushing that guard back, right? Getting them off their feet, off their line, right? And forcing plays, making the running back have to make a move in the backfield. If you can do stuff like that and just create pressure, if you can collapse that pocket immediately when Sam Darnold drops back and the interior of his offensive line is going backwards, that helps create plays for these outside guys, for your ends, for your linebackers. There's holes that are going to start opening up where you can fill it and get a sack or hit tackles for loss.
How difficult will it be, Craig? You think about it, he's on a snap count. We know that. Tempting as it may be for Nick Rallis to say, like, I just want to use him all game. I want to use him on key passing downs. I want to have him fresh for the 4th quarter. When in reality, like, you may need him for 4 quarters in this game to be able to win this game, given the state of your defensive line, which is high on energy, maybe low on talent.
I think a certain amount of that will, the game will dictate that, right?
Yeah.
The circumstance and also what he's showing you. But you have to be really careful. We're talking about a guy who had 10 snaps in a preseason game. He obviously had some time in those joint practices in Indy, but he hasn't played any meaningful football since then. He's a rookie. He hasn't seen the regular season. And, oh, by the way, we're past the midpoint of the season, so teams are in that sort of form. The river is flowing fast right now, and he's trying to jump in and make an impact. That's a lot to ask right now.
Absolutely. We were told here on PHNX Cardinals he was their most impressive rookie. That includes Marvin Harrison Jr. during training camp. Like, he was showing out. We saw it firsthand, gentlemen. He looked like the Incredible Hulk out there. And then he had an injury derail most of his season. And, of course, the very, very tragic passing of his late mother, Craig, that you wrote about at GoPHNX.com. How is that weighing on him today? Because you mentioned something on Friday's preview show that really kind of hit home with me, that for whatever reason I put 2 and 2 together. It's like, his mom's never going to see him play in the NFL.
Yeah,
and that's heavy stuff.
That's stuff that they had talked about too.
Right.
You know, she was there. They were all together when he was drafted. It was a big moment. His mom, his grandmother were there when he was drafted. This was a huge moment and something they never even dreamed possible because he didn't even take up football till midway through high school.
Yeah.
So it's an insane story. It's an incredible story when you look at it. But his mom, his dad really wasn't around. Let's be honest. And his older brother is like 22 years older than him. So
Man,
his mom was everything in his life. Everybody that I've talked to in his life talked about what an impact she was, what a force for good she was. So to have that taken away while he's in rehab this close, it's absolutely weighing on him. Now he hasn't decided how he's going to honor his mother. I think he's going to figure out a way at some point.
Yep.
But he did say that the thing that stuck with me is, he said, you know how people ask you what's the why behind what you do? That's the why for me for the rest of my time with the Cardinals, for the rest of my NFL career.
it's unbelievable. This is a young man, 14 tackles for loss in his last season at Missouri, played 5 years of college football, 8.5 sacks, somebody that's got an incredibly high floor. And speaking of floors, Marvin Harrison Jr., we alluded to it, Jonathan Gannon with Tom Pelissaro in the pregame said that Marv will have a big impact and they will get him the ball early and often. And I thought Brittan Golden very apropos, very appropriate, playing in a great state of Minnesota, which knows great wide receivers from obviously Justin Jefferson all the way back to Randy Moss. Can Marvin Harrison Jr. and Larry Fitzgerald, growing up there, he never played, thankfully, for the Vikings, can Marvin Harrison Jr. do his best Randy Moss impression today?
Oh, I think it's obviously he can. We've seen him make big plays, whether it be college, whether it be pros. I mean, the two big downfield, like crazy catches we saw against the Rams, I think can be mimicked all season long. Now, the difference is we want to get him the ball. They said they want to get him the ball, right? But you can't force the ball.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a difference in finding ways to get him involved and finding ways to get him the football. And then there's the old, Jay Cutler to Brandon Marshall, where there's four guys around him and I don't know what to do with the ball, so I'm just going to try to squeeze it in between.
Yeah.
Right. Don't force the plays to Marv. You have to let them come naturally. Right. You've got a whole other plethora of playmakers on this offense as well, and that's what's gonna allow Marv to get open, gonna get one-on-ones, and that's where you get him involved.
Craig, where are the slants? Where are the end arounds?
Yeah.
Where are the screens? Like, are we beating a dead horse at this point that's just not in Drew Petzing's repertoire with this receiver?
It should be. And as Brittan was alluding to, that's the way, without forcing the ball, that you can get him his touches and get him in the flow of the game.
Yeah.
So I would like to see more of that. Let me ask you a question. When a coach says that pregame on the air to a national audience, is he telling the truth or is that gamesmanship?
I think he's sending a message to his OC, and I think that message was maybe sent during the week this week, like, guys, we gave up one touchdown last week and we lost. We have the personnel to really push the ball downfield, and that starts with number 18. And respectfully to Stephon Gilmore, who's an older player, Byron Murphy Jr., who's a solid player, like we've seen Marv carve up like Jalen Ramsey. Marv has the upside to torch all of these DBs. We know that the front seven for the Vikings is good, right? Especially their edge rushers. Their back seven, man, I think it's a lot of effort, guys. And that just like I'm sure the Vikings feel like with the Cardinals back seven, there are opportunities to exploit that DB room.
Oh, there's opportunities, and there will be opportunities. But like we said it at the beginning of the show, this run game for the Cardinals is going to be everything for that.
Sure.
Right? If you can't get that run going and you have to rely on throwing the football and you're going to try to put all of this pressure on Kyler's back and say, we got to go out there and throw on first down, second down, third down to try to stay in this game, it's not going to end well for you. So the run game is everything in getting these playmakers on the outside started.
You mentioned Kyler Murray. That's the last subject here on the Bird Gang Blitz. Rip it to win it. And, gentlemen, I hearken back to this team's last significant road win of the season. Cardinals at Dolphins. We were there. James Conner, it was a murky day on the ground. 20 carries, 53 yards. Cardinals ran for a pedestrian 82 yards. So Kyler Murray had to carry this offense on his back. Over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr., both over 100 yards. And I think, like, that might be the formula. You have to keep the defense honest with James Conner, Craig. Mm-hmm. Make sure that even when you're not getting the big explosive runs, you're still in a position where the threat of the run is there. But then let Kyler Murray sit in that pocket. We went through it on Friday's pregame show, the preview show. Jared Goff carved up this defense. Matthew Stafford carved up this defense. Those are pocket guys. Kyler Murray has to be a pocket quarterback today.
Maybe. I think you're right to an extent, but Damon said something. Damon Dawg off before we started this show against Brian Flores defenses. The guys he tends to have success against guys who can't play off schedule.
Okay.
So, and I think Kyler Murray is a guy who could hurt you. You know, we'd like to see that Kyler Murray, right?
Yeah.
That's where I think he's at his best, actually, when he's making those plays off schedule. When he's on the move, he is a deadly force. So I think we could see a little bit of that. They may need that today because of the edge rushers that this team has and its ability to bring pressure.
Brittan, how pivotal is it for Kyler Murray to have a good showing? We talked about it last week. Like, do you really want to have a pattern of losing to Geno Smith and then losing to Sam Darnold in back-to-back weeks with Geno coming to your house next weekend?
No, I mean, it's got to be a game for Kyler. It's got to be a somewhat of a statement game. I don't want to put, any time. I mean, obviously he's not going to hear any of this before the game, but like trying to put pressure on a guy to be, hey, you've got to be this and everything, right? And you've seen it throughout the league, right? You put all that pressure on Aaron Rodgers, has failed. You put all this pressure on these big guys this season. He just needs to go out there and play the football that he knows how to play, right? He's played it in high school. The man, I don't think he ever lost a game in Allen High School.
No.
Right? And then the success he had in college, the success he had early out here, like he's just got to get back to that. The confident Kyler where I know what got me here, right? If it's not, the pocket collapse, get out, create some work. Right? If you got to run. If you can find a good pass on the run, make that. Like, just let him play the football, the confident football that he's played growing up.
Let me jump in here one moment to defend Sam Darnold a little bit against your shade. I know it's going to be gross to you. You're probably going to vomit if you want to leave the table for a minute here. But talking to Alec Lewis, the athletics beat writer for the Vikings, there's been a lot of shade thrown at Sam Darnold, but I think part of what you have to look at was the situation that Sam Darnold 100%. Found himself in.
Yeah.
And what Alex said is you cannot underestimate the importance of infrastructure. He's got the best infrastructure he's ever had. Let me read you a quote from this story from the Outside the Nest. I've heard this external narrative consistently of people asking, when is Sam Darnold just going to be Sam Darnold again? I laugh because I always follow with, when is Quincy Enunwa going to be his best receiver again? When is Adam Gase going to be his coach again? When is his offensive line going to be brutal again? To me, saying that Darnold is who he was in the past minimizes the importance of infrastructure.
And again, we all thought he was going to be a good prospect, and then the Jets happened, and then, he bounced around. He went to Carolina. That was a disaster. And I'm happy for Sam Darnold. Just don't let it be today. Let's see the old Sam Darnold today. We got Bo Brack around the corner here on PHNX Cardinals live at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Speaking of Gila, if you guys are in the area, of course, come out for today's watch party. But regardless, how about a staycation at Arizona's largest sportsbook casino? It is elite, it is first class, and it is the only place I go to place a wager here in the greater Arizona area. That's because they've got 4,500 slots, live table games, and more. Plus, listen, if you're just light on the gambling side but big on the entertainment, how about Prime A Shula Steakhouse? Pool season's over, but rooftop season has arrived with an unprecedented level of entertainment and excitement. You won't find anything else in the desert better than this, and they set the bar high. Trust me. So belly up, and let's show you what next level is all about. And just it doesn't stop with PHNX Cardinals watch parties. Suns have watch parties. Suns getting their act together. Come out for road games here. Come out for the rest of the season. We've got, I think, just a couple more of these road games here at Gila. So take advantage. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. And speaking of taking advantage right now, did you guys do any Black Friday shopping?
No, I don't really shop that much.
You don't?
My wife does all the shopping, and yeah, she did a lot because I looked this morning.
Oh,
with big eyes.
Yeah, I got big eyes right now for our friends at Sanderson Ford and the 65-acre facility right now for Black Friday. They have the 2024 F-150 with 3.9 APR financing for 66 months. Best deal you're going to get. If you're even thinking about dipping your toe into the truck game, the Sanderson Ford game, get out there to their Glendale location. They're going to give you $4,000 grand cash back. Similar savings on 900 new and pre-owned vehicles all over the lot. Perfect time to go out. Black Friday is the time. Plus, you're going to get an additional $1,000 Amazon gift card on a Bronco, a Lightning, an F-150, and an Expedition on Black Friday, on Saturday, and on Monday. So, again, you're watching this right now. You're thinking, Johnny, I don't have time. They're open tomorrow, and the deals are tomorrow. So don't miss Sanderson Ford Black Friday throughout the course of the weekend and Monday. The thank you sale offers expire tomorrow. So get out there, pick out a new vehicle, buy one for a loved one, become a truck guy. I'm looking to upgrade. to becoming a truck guy with our friends at Sanderson Ford. We're upgrading our coverage here. Bo Brack is joining us live from Minnesota. We've been keeping him on hold. Our guy, there he is. He's got the purple behind him. Bo, how are the vibes? I saw you do your stand-up. I'm going to give you credit. It was 7 degrees out this morning. You had your puffy coat on. How you living, my guy?
You added 1 degree there. It's actually 6 degrees, if you couldn't tell. You can't discount it at all. It was freezing outside, brutally cold, but we're indoors here, and the vibes are immaculate. The environment here is unreal. And normally I would say that ups the difficulty level, but I think that you've got a coaching staff with a lot of experience playing and coaching in front of this environment here. Jonathan Gannon, of course, as a DB coach way back when. Drew Petzing, Nick Rallis getting an opportunity to start their young coaching careers. And then Kyler Murray, his first road game happened against the Vikings way back when. He's had some pretty good performances against the Vikings in his career. So I think that this is a daunting environment, but I think one that the Cardinals are prepared for.
Bo, did you get a nice walk along the river today, play a little tennis?
I like everybody else in the city, stayed away from the courts that were iced over and just went straight from the hotel to the Uber to US Bank Stadium, which is an incredible venue.
Bo, we know Darius Robinson will be on the snap count today, but what are your expectations? You and Craig, you've seen him every day at practice. You know what he's capable of. How will Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis specifically, you're in that temptation to just say, we're going to unleash number 56 because we need this dub today?
Yeah, I think that the snap count is geared up towards him unleashing things. Just go out there and play violent, play fast. And you don't have to think about, hey, I've got to pace myself to maybe make it through the marathon of a 60-minute football game. Can they just get him in there to make some impact plays, create some negatives, maybe even draw a couple penalties against this Vikings offensive line? I think that that's why you're primarily looking at a snap count for D-Rob making that long-awaited debut.
Kyler Murray, Bo, last week uncharacteristically unproductive. Offensive line gave up 5 sacks, shut out of the end zone for the first time this year. We talked about it throughout the week that this offense for the Cardinals has to step up against what we believe good defense for the Vikings, but as Brittan and I discussed earlier, not impenetrable. You can have advantages, specifically going deep. Will Drew Petzing pull the trigger and go deep today?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's going to be part of the game plan. I think they're going to be very productive between the 20s, and they really have to avoid those negative plays. This is, Brian Flores' defense, and I mean this, respectful way, very reminiscent of a good operated and as far as executed Vance Joseph defense, where they're willing to give up chunk plays in order to get some negative plays. So can you take advantage of that? Can you make it look like a bad VJ defense that we've been accustomed to as Arizona Cardinals fans? That's going to be key for this offense. There's going to be the opportunities. Can they cash in?
We're going to cash in. We're keeping Bo Brack, but Brittan Golden, check it out. It's our Bet Boost of the Week. Tap that app with our friends at Bet365. Not one, not two, but a 3-leg parlay. We got Trey McBride, 60-plus receiving yards. Kyler Murray, 30-plus rushing yards, and then Kyler Murray, 2 touchdown passes. We're going from 800 to a plus 1,000. Your thoughts on the pregame picks?
I kind of like these are actually
these are solid.
These are solid.
Okay,
these are solid. I mean, the 30 rushing yards from Kyler Murray, I think that's a big one today. I think him getting out of the pocket and creating plays with his legs today is going to be crucial, and in setting up big plays for this offense.
Craig, we talked about it. Kyler Murray held out of the end zone. The passing game really hasn't taken off yet this year. I mean, what does Kyler Murray have to do to get the ball in the air to his playmakers? He missed Trey McBride wide open last week in the end zone again.
Well, that would be nice. Wouldn't it be nice to get Trey McBride a touchdown?
Absolutely.
Via the air, because he's fallen on a fumble in the end zone. He's run one in, but he hasn't caught a touchdown pass. Yeah, that might be a way to go this week. But as you mentioned earlier, it would be nice to get their biggest playmaker on the wide receiving core in the mix today. Get Marv involved in this game.
Yep, get involved with us at our sales right now for Black Friday. Goes through this weekend. It is at the ALLCITY storefront, up to 75% off right now, 30% off the entire store. Again, I bought, I think, upwards of $200 worth of stuff because I had to take care of my loved ones this holiday season. You're not going to find better deals. The PHNX Cardinal sweatshirt in particular, a banger. Store.allcitynetwork.com. Again, 30% off everything, including our number 18 collection. featuring one MHJ and up to 75% off. So many good deals. I think we got a t-shirt that's like $6. The vibes are immaculate. Let's go around the room. Gentlemen, prediction time. I'm gonna defer first to Bo Brack. Bo, having predicted the Cardinals to lose on Friday, you're there now in the environment. You've had a chance to soak up the atmosphere. Are you revising your pick, or are you standing pat with the Vikings dub today?
This environment is not going to change where I've been. This is now the third time you've asked me. We did the emergency pod yesterday. Third time is not a charm. But look, I mean, all the national pundits, Kurt Warner, Cardinals great. Like, it's across the board. Everybody's betting against the Cardinals. My guy Johnny V is the only one that's standing strong. And, man, I hope that you're right and we're all wrong. But I'm going to stick with what I had. I think the Vikings probably get this one done at home.
Bo Brack, I appreciate that you are not a politician who's going to waffle. I appreciate you standing by your convictions. I'm going to stand by mine as well. I think the Cardinals lose a close game. This is a tough environment with some tough matchups for them. I think we'll see a better performance from the offense today, but I think they come up a little bit short. And by the way, if Johnny V is right, I noted this off the air, we'll have a four-way tie atop the standings in terms of predictions.
Burn those standings.
Yeah,
I don't want to see those.
We won't talk about the records themselves.
Brittan Golden, what do you think?
I got a dip, guys.
I agree with Craig, and I agree with Bo. I think it's a tough one. I do think offensively we get back on track. Hopefully we get back on track. And like Bo said, I hope that you're right and they find a way to win this football game. But like Bo said, I've played in that stadium, being in that stadium, the environment, how they come out, announce them, the skull chant, like it's a great, it's an awesome
skull chant. Give me a little more. Give me a little more on the skull chant.
No, I don't want to hear about that.
I don't want to hear that.
Damon, let's get these super chats going before we get out of here.
Let's do it. We got Josh, $2, says, make Darnold see those ghosts again.
Absolutely.
And then we got Reezy Baby with $2 saying, I need Craig to match JV's intensity today. Hashtag Bird Gang.
You know what?
I'm not sure that's possible.
I don't know if anybody can match that.
Here are final thoughts from your boy. Cardinals are winning today. Nick Rallis, Jonathan Gannon. I feel very confident that they are confident in their game plan to shut down Sam Darnold. Do I have confidence in this Cardinal offense? I think they're going to do just enough. But I think Sam Darnold is going to be forced in uncomfortable situations. I believe he's going to turn the ball over. And I think the Vikings are going to get a wake-up call from playing a real playoff contender for the first time in about 6 weeks. I think the Vikings are a really good team. They're a really good story. But I think this is the Cardinals' day. Last week, we talked about good losses, wake-up calls, post-bye. Cardinals exercise demons behind Jonathan Gannon all year. They beat Daddy McVay. They beat the Niners on the road. They win at Minnesota for the first time since November of 1977. Book it. We're back at halftime here. Come out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos, Wild Horse Pass. There's still time. Wake up, brush your teeth, get down here. Halftime post-game show is in a hot minute. Enjoy the game, friends.
We all silly like the mayor.